Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was once again The Invitation, making $2.6 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $18 million and a worldwide total of $24 million. So completely unexpectedly, The Invitation was able to not only stay in the top 5 in the exact same spot it was last weekend, but it was also able to overtake DC League of Super Pets, as it was kind of a close race between the two of them. I remember the Sunday estimates reported that Super Pets was number 5 and The Invitation was number 6, but when the actuals came out, it was very obviously flip-flopped of which movie overtake the other, which is kind of impressive to say the least, especially with how well each of them did last weekend. It's very surprising to see the turnout for this weekend, especially with The Invitation. I mean, I thought last weekend was definitely the last time we would see the film in the top 5, but no, it was able to hold pretty well, and it's about to double its budget domestically, and it already has done that worldwide. It's on its way to triple that budget worldwide, so this movie is still doing very well despite not really breaking any new ground, to say the least. But yeah, even with its really unimpressive numbers overall in the grand scheme of things, it's still doing very well. It's kind of becoming somewhat of a sleeper hit. It's not like a blockbuster or up to the same standards as something like, Bullet Train, but considering that we're talking about The Invitation, the fact that it's doing as well as it is quite notable, to say the least. Number 4 was Top Gun Maverick, making $3.1 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $705 million and a worldwide total of $1.4 billion. So yeah, Top Gun Maverick lost the crown of being top of the box office and dipped all the way to number 4, and it even suffered from its biggest drop-off yet. That being said, it had a very solid hold of just 48% in its 16th weekend and is still making a crap ton of money. Look, folks, at this point, anything this movie makes is just spare change. It has made all of the money it needed to. It's just reaping in the awards that it has already accomplished thus far. It is just a huge phenomenon. The only sad thing is there really isn't that many milestones or achievements or anything notable left to say about this movie for now, at the very least. I do feel like it could finally, for good, leave the top 5 sooner rather than later, but even if so, the lengths this movie had, the strong hold, strong word of mouth, the incredible run it had, it doesn't even matter one bit. Just anything I say at this point is just broken record at this point. Anything you say about this movie is just a broken record at this point. Top Gun Maverick is a hit. We're all happy that it made as much money as it did. It's definitely probably on its way out at this point because, once again, it did take its biggest hit thus far, even though that is probably due to the fact that it had a monumental weekend last weekend, but I digress. And given that the fall is on the horizon, I'm not sure if this movie's going to have the same buzz as it did in the summer, so we'll just see. But yeah, otherwise, it's just another weekend for Top Gun Maverick. What else can I say? Number 3 was Bullet Train, making $3.3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $92 million and a worldwide total of $212 million. Yet another solid weekend for Bullet Train. It pushes its domestic total just $8 million away from the $100 million milestone domestically, which, if you recall, I was a bit skeptical if the film was going to get to that total. Just at the time, it seemed like it probably wasn't going to get there, but hey, I can admit when I'm wrong, and if it does manage to surpass the $100 million milestone, which, let's be real, it will definitely do, I will be happy for it. The fact that this movie, of all things, was able to get to that milestone and leg out as well as it did is quite the feat, to say the least. It also surpassed the $200 million milestone worldwide, which is also very good. It just pushes its film even more into the profitable range. It's now Sony's second biggest movie of the year, and it will probably be Sony's second film of the year domestically to surpass the $100 million milestone, which I think everyone would be quite happy about. Yeah, just not much more else to say on this movie. Much like Top Gun Maverick, it's still doing well. Audiences are still going out to see it. It's getting the buzz and the recognition it needed to. It's a box office success, and yeah, it's just doing very well. What more else can I say except good job, Bullet Train. Number 2 was Brahmastra Part 1 Shiva, opening with $4.5 million domestically and $24 million worldwide. So this may come as a surprise to a lot of you, as I'm sure many of you were probably unaware of this movie coming out. I mean, I sure was, and that's on me for not doing enough of my research, and I apologize. But yeah, the film was able to take the second place spot, which is really cool to see some foreign language films not only get released in theaters amongst other big Hollywood blockbusters, but also just getting some notoriety at the box office, so much that it entered at number 2. Granted, it was a much slower weekend, but still, it opened much bigger than even I was expecting. Well, definitely I was expecting. But upon further research, this is the most expensive film from India. It is also supposedly the startup of a new cinematic universe, so prepare to see more of Brahmastra movies in the future. And really not much else to say here. It's just really cool to see something like this get the notoriety in the box office domestically, and the fact that it was able to once again reach as high as number 2 is definitely notable. We'll see how long it lasts in the top 5. I'm not sure if it's going to have the strong legs, because usually these types of movies are very front-loaded. But yeah, in regards to its opening, this is a very solid, impressive opening. What more else to say? And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was Barbarian, opening with $10 million this weekend domestically and $11 million worldwide. So if you remember last weekend, while I did say I had high expectations on this movie opening at number 1, I wasn't expecting too much from its opening as a whole, given the fact that I wasn't seeing a whole lot of buzz, and the marketing from what I saw was pretty lacking, even with the very solid reviews from critics, and even from what I've heard from people who saw the movie. I wasn't really sure if this movie would have a pretty good opening. But turns out, once again, in this video, I was really wrong, and I will admit defeat, as this film managed to exceed expectations and make its entire budget back. The film only costed $10.5 million, and would you look at that, it's already made well above that, both domestically and worldwide. This movie really had strong word of mouth throughout the weekend. I feel like a lot of major audiences were talking about how bizarre and strange this movie is, so that's kind of what helped it out in terms of its opening weekend, and it honestly still was really surprising to see it, because again, this is such a definitely not mainstream horror film. This is definitely not in the vein of something like Scream 5 or maybe even The Black Phone or Nope. It is definitely something of its own category. So the fact that not only did it open at number 1, but the fact that it was pretty successful is very admirable, to say the least. It job well done, I guess. The only concern I really have for it right now is how it's going to do throughout the rest of its theatrical run, because I'm concerned, given the type of movie it is, that word of mouth is probably going to hurt it. It did get a C+ on Cinema Score, which might be better than most cinema scores for horror films, but this is still a C+, so that's definitely a cause for concern. And even with how slow the rest of the month of September is, it could still get swept under the rug, because there is probably at least one movie this month that is going to surprise everybody and take advantage of the slow month and cause a lot of the other movies to get lost in the shuffle. So we'll see how Barbarian does throughout the rest of its theatrical run. But yeah, as far as its opening weekend goes, this is a very strong opening weekend for the type of movie it is, and I look forward to seeing where it goes from here. So yeah, good job, Barbarian. And those are the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And while we do have a pretty crowded weekend at the box office, I gotta be honest, I really only see one movie really blowing the doors off in the same way other movies this month has blown the doors off. Because despite See How They Run and Pearl also hitting theaters, given their minimal marketing and lack of buzz I've been seeing for either of them, while they have a good shot of entering the top 5, I don't think they're really going to open to anything special in the grand scheme of things. Even if their movies are relatively cheap and they make their budget back, I'm just not sure if they're really going to bring it. But as far as the movie that I think is probably going to do the best out of all of them, there's The Woman King. This is a historical epic about the Agaji warriors who protected West Africa between the 17th and 19th century. And I gotta be honest, I think there could be a shot for this movie to surprise and exceed expectations. Don't expect like a blockbuster opening, but something that can impress these low September numbers right now, given the marketing has been pretty solid and the reviews have been phenomenal. I have been hearing nothing but good things about it, so I think that could help out the movie coming closer to this weekend to help boost its opening weekend numbers for sure, and maybe wanting to learn more about these historical figures and maybe even word of mouth could help increase its box office numbers, not just in its opening weekend, but throughout its theatrical run. However, the downside is that I haven't been seeing a lot of buzz for this movie. I don't know too many people who are talking about this movie or getting interested in this movie. Just not a lot of conversations I'm hearing about it, which is definitely going to hurt it the most. We'll see if it can exceed the expectations or if it'll be held back by the lack of buzz. But we will truly see how well it does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.